The U.S. is moving towards reclassifying marijuana as a less dangerous drug. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration is proposing making it a Schedule III drug instead of a Schedule I drug. That would mean looser regulations for weed use. The proposed change is not finalized, but it could have a major impact on the marijuana business. Today, we're putting that impact under our street light. Revenue from the cannabis market in the U.S. is expected to reach nearly $43 billion this year. That's our big number today. The cannabis market's revenue is expected to grow to almost $50 billion by the end of the decade. The industry has soared as more states have legalized marijuana. 38 states now allow some form of legal marijuana sales, and the 24 states you see in dark green have completed legalized sales of weed for people 21 or older.
Charlotte Hanna is with us now. She's the CEO of Rebelle, which is a women-owned cannabis company. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. What would the immediate impact be of reclassifying marijuana on your business?
The most important, thank you so much for having me, first of all. The most important impact that we know of today, and I preface that with the fact that there's a lot that's still unclear, and so that'll come out over the coming months. But the most important impact that we do know is that the IRS will no longer tax cannabis companies as they have. And that's going to open up a lot of liquidity in the marketplace. A lot of the publicly traded companies are undervalued, have strong fundamentals, but because of the way the IRS taxes the industry, it ties up a lot of cash. Where the effective for a retail-only business like mine, I have two retail, our effective tax rate is almost 60% because of this special tax code created for our industry.
What could that reclassification, why would it change the amount of taxes that you're currently paying?
Because there's a tax code, tax rule called 280E, and that the IRS created when legalization started happening medically. And so basically we cannot deduct anything after our cost of goods sold. So we're taxed on our gross profit. And it was a battle to even get to that point. From what I understand, a long time ago in the early days of the legal industry, we were taxed even higher than that. But then there have been, cases in tax court to fight this, and so now the most known thing today is that this tax code rule 280E will go away, and we will be taxed just like any other normal business based on our net income.
How could a reclassification, because I know right now big banks don't work with the cannabis industry, how could a reclassification impact that relationship between cannabis and big banks?
Now, that's the one thing that is still unclear. At first, when the news came out, there was talk in the industry that now this will open up the opportunity for us to bank. So currently I'm able to bank with state chartered banks or credit unions, but not big federal banks. And so, but now so there's talk that the Safe Banking Act will still need to pass in Congress and in the House and the Senate in order for the banking to open up. So there's a lot. I would classify that as some of the facts that are still unclear to the industry today.
There's a lot that we still don't know, and if and when this reclassification goes through, federally, marijuana would still be considered illegal. Why is it such a challenge for marijuana to become federally legal when we've seen so many states take that step?
The federal government tends to follow public opinion by several years, and so that's why we're seeing more legalization happen at the state level. It's most often, on the ballot, and that's where it happens when a state has the ability to change the law based on voting and a ballot initiative. And so I know that there's, work happening now, and in Florida to get that on the ballot to legalize recreationally. So I would say most of the states legalized because the people wanted it and they voted and then they got it through on a ballot initiative. Then post-COVID, a lot of states needed money. And so they saw it as a big, potential tax windfall to pay all the, a lot of the bills that they had and the deficits that they had after COVID. And so that's what we saw in the Northeast and states like my home state of New York and New Jersey and Connecticut. There was a lot of fiscal pressure on states after COVID. And then we saw more states legalizing through, normal legislative means.
And we'll see what happens next. CEO of Rebelle, Charlotte Hanna, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you so much.